The hum of the computer fans was the only sound Adam found comforting anymore. It was a steady, rhythmic whir that drowned out the chaos of his own thoughts. On the triple monitor set up in front of him, lines of complex code cascaded like a digital waterfall. To the untrained eye, it looked like a mess of gibberish, or perhaps the interface of a high-end strategy game. To Adam, it was a symphony. It was Project Ether, the software architecture that was currently revolutionizing cybersecurity for half the Fortune 500 companies. He took a sip of lukewarm coffee, his eyes scanning the syntax for errors. He had been sitting in this ergonomic chair for 12 hours straight. His back ached, his eyes burned, but the deadline for the patch rollout was midnight. He wasn't playing. He was building an empire. Suddenly, the door to his home office slammed open with such violence that the framed photo on the wall, a picture of him and Hannah from their honeymoon, tilted askew. Adam didn't flinch. He didn't even turn around immediately. He just sighed, his fingers hovering over the mechanical keyboard. Adam. The shriek tore through the room, sharp and jagged. Hannah. I am working, Hannah, Adam said, his voice calm, almost monotone. He kept his eyes on the screen. I'm at a critical juncture. Please. Working? Hannah's laugh was brittle, devoid of any humor. It was the sound of glass breaking. Is that what we're calling it now? Working? She stormed into the room, the scent of her expensive perfume, Chanel No. 5, which Adam had bought for her last Christmas, filling the stale air. She grabbed the back of his chair and spun him around. Adam looked up at his wife. She was beautiful, objectively speaking. Her blonde hair was perfectly styled, her makeup flawless. She was wearing the red dress she usually saved for special occasions. He had forgotten. Tonight was the dinner at her parents' house. Look at you, she spat, her eyes raking over his gray hoodie and sweatpants. You look like a homeless person. You haven't showered. You haven't shaved. And you've been in this dark cave playing your stupid little games all day while I've been out there in the real world, actually contributing to society. It's not a game, Hannah, Adam said wearily. He had tried to explain this to her 1,000 times. I'm coding. It's complicated, but it pays. It pays well. It pays peanuts. She screamed. You make sporadic deposits, Adam. 2,000 here, 3,000 there. It's inconsistent. It's unstable. My sister's husband, Kevin, just bought a new Mercedes. A Mercedes. Do you know what I drive? A 3-year-old Honda. The Honda runs fine, Adam muttered. And those deposits. That's just the liquid cash for bills, the rest is reinvested. I told you, I'm building something. You're building nothing. Hannah grabbed a stack of papers from his desk, invoices for server maintenance, and threw them into the air. They fluttered down like dead leaves. You are 30 years old, Adam. You are a grown man. And you spend your life staring at a screen, fighting dragons or whatever the hell you do, while I work my fingers to the bone as a marketing coordinator just to keep up appearances. Adam stood up. He was taller than her, significantly so, but he slumped his shoulders, making himself smaller to avoid escalating the fight. I pay the mortgage, Hannah. I pay the utilities. I pay for your car insurance. I pay for everything. With what? Your allowance from your little freelance gigs? She stepped closer, poking a manicured finger into his chest. I need security, Adam. I need a man with a title. A man with a career. Someone I can introduce at parties without having to say, oh, he works from home and watch people give me that pitying look. Is that what this is about? Adam asked, his voice hardening slightly. What people think. Does it matter that we have food? That we have a roof? That I'm here every night? It matters that you're a loser. The word hung in the air, heavy and toxic. Hannah saw the hurt in his eyes, but instead of retreating, she doubled down. She reached behind the computer tower. Hannah, don't, Adam warned, his eyes widening. That code isn't compiled yet. If you cut the power, maybe this will wake you up. She yanked the power cord from the wall. Zap. The 3 monitors went black instantly. The whir of the fans died. The room was plunged into sudden darkness, illuminated only by the streetlights filtering through the blinds. Silence. Absolute, crushing silence. Adam stared at the black screens. 12 hours of work. The patch for the Bank of Geneva. The encryption keys. Gone. Not all of it, he had backups on the cloud, but the local integration he had been fine-tuning for the last 4 hours was vaporized. He felt a coldness spread through his chest. It wasn't anger. It was something far worse. It was resignation. He slowly turned to look at her in the dim light. Hannah was breathing heavily, the power cord still clutched in her hand like a weapon. She looked triumphant, as if she had just slain a beast. Why? Adam whispered. Because I'm done, she hissed, throwing the cord onto the floor. I'm done being the wife of a gamer. I'm done being the wife of a nobody. We are going to my parents' house for dinner tonight. Kevin and Jessica will be there. You are going to put on a suit, if you even have one that fits, and you are going to pretend to be a normal human being. And tomorrow? She walked to the door, pausing with her hand on the frame. Tomorrow, you are going to look for a real job. Kevin said there's an opening for a teller at his branch. You're going to apply. Or you're going to pack your bags. She slammed the door shut, leaving Adam alone in the dark. Adam stood there for a long time. He looked at the reflection of his own face in the dead monitor. She was right about one thing. He was done playing games. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. It was a secure line, encrypted with his own software. He dialed a number. Yes, sir? A crisp voice answered on the first ring. It was his personal assistant, Marcus, stationed at the Codex headquarters in Silicon Valley. Marcus, Adam said, his voice terrifyingly calm. Initiate the audit on the regional banking sector. Specifically, the branch managed by a Mr. Kevin Miller. Sir? That's a low-level inquiry. Is everything all right? No, Adam said, looking at the closed door. Everything is about to change. Just get the files ready. And Marcus? Yes, sir? Prepare the liquidity transfer. All of it. I have a feeling I'm going to be single very soon. Adam hung up the phone. He walked over to the closet and pulled out a suit. It was a bespoke Italian cut, worth more than Kevin's new Mercedes. He had bought it for a Forbes photoshoot he had turned down to protect his anonymity. He dusted off the shoulder. She wants a show, Adam murmured to the empty room. I'll give her a show. He began to dress. The lazy gamer was dead. The CEO was waking up when Adam stepped out of the front door. The evening air was cool, but the atmosphere inside the Honda Civic was stifling. Hannah was already in the driver's seat, revving the engine impatiently. She looked him up and down as he slid into the passenger seat, her eyes narrowing critically. "Well," she sniffed, putting the car into gear. "At least you tried. Where did you dig that up? Is that the suit you wore to your cousin's wedding 5 years ago?" Adam smoothed the lapel of the jacket. It was a charcoal gray Khitan suit, hand-stitched in Naples, composed of vicuna wool. It cost roughly $45,000, more than the car they were currently sitting in. "Something like that," Adam replied quietly. He didn't see the point in correcting her. To Hannah, value was determined by logos and flashiness, not quality. The drive to her parents' house was silent, filled only with the aggressive tapping of Hannah's fingers on the steering wheel. As they pulled into the driveway of the modest suburban home, the contrast was immediate and deliberate. Parked right in the center, taking up 2 spots, was a gleaming, brand new silver Mercedes-Benz E-Class. "Look at that," Hannah sighed, a sound of pure envy. "Kevin's new car. It's gorgeous. Jessica is so lucky." They entered the house to the sound of laughter. In the living room, Adam's mother-in-law, Linda, was fawning over a man holding a glass of scotch. Kevin was the definition of a corporate climber. He wore a suit that was too shiny, a watch that was too big, and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Beside him sat Jessica, Hannah's sister, beaming with pride. "Finally," Linda exclaimed, looking up. Her smile dimmed by about 50% when her gaze landed on Adam. "You're late. Kevin was just telling us about his promotion." "Branch manager," Kevin corrected loudly, standing up to shake Adam's hand. His grip was aggressively tight, a petty power move. "Good to see you, Adam. Nice suit. A bit vintage, isn't it? Retro style?" "It keeps me warm," Adam said, extricating his hand. Dinner was an exercise in torture. Linda had cooked a roast, but the main course was clearly Kevin's ego. For 45 minutes, the conversation revolved entirely around the regional bank where Kevin worked. "The responsibility is immense," Kevin said, gesturing with his fork. "I manage assets worth millions. Millions. One wrong move, and people lose their livelihoods. It takes a certain kind of mind to handle that pressure. A shark's mind." "You're so smart, Kevin," Jessica cooed. "It pays off," Kevin said, winking at Hannah. "That's how I got the Benz. And next year? We're looking at a vacation home in Aspen." Hannah looked down at her plate, pushing a pea around with her fork. The shame radiating off her was palpable. She looked at Adam, who was eating silently, and her shame turned into anger. "So, Adam," Kevin said, pivoting the conversation like a predator spotting a limping gazelle. "Hannah tells me you're still doing the computer thing? What is it? Fixing printers?" "Software architecture," Adam corrected without looking up. Right. Beeps and boops," Kevin laughed, looking around the table for approval. Linda chuckled. "Look, buddy, I'm going to be honest with you because we're family. This little hobby of yours? It's cute. But it's not putting a Mercedes in the driveway, is it?" "No," Adam said. "It puts a Gulfstream jet in the hangar," he thought, "but a Mercedes is nice too." "I'm worried about Hannah," Linda interjected, her voice dripping with faux concern. "She looks tired. A woman needs security, Adam. She needs a provider." "I provide," Adam said calmly. "You provide stress." Hannah snapped, finally breaking. The table went silent. "Mom is right. Look at Jessica. She doesn't have to worry about bills. She doesn't have to worry if the freelance check is going to clear this month. I'm tired of living like college students, Adam." Kevin leaned back, looking satisfied. He swirled his scotch. "Listen, I'm a generous guy. I hate seeing family struggle. I actually have an opening at the branch." Adam looked up, locking eyes with Kevin. "Is that so?" "Yeah. It's an entry-level teller position. You'd be standing all day, handling cash, dealing with angry customers. It's hard work, real work. Not sitting in your pajamas." Kevin smirked. "Or, if you're not qualified for the math part, the janitorial staff is always looking for a night shift guy. Benefits are okay." The insult was calculated. It was designed to strip Adam of any remaining dignity in front of his wife. Linda nodded enthusiastically. "Oh, Adam, you should take it. Working at a bank. That sounds so respectable. Much better than whatever you do in the dark." Adam looked at Hannah. He waited. He gave her one last chance to defend him. To say that he worked hard, that he was intelligent, that he was her husband. Hannah looked at Kevin, then at Adam. "Take the job, Adam," she whispered. "Please. Just grow up. For me." That was the moment. The final thread snapped. Adam wiped his mouth with the napkin and placed it gently on the table. Inside, the roaring fire of rage had cooled into ice. He wasn't angry anymore. He was calculating. He was executing code. "A teller position," Adam repeated slowly. "At your branch. The one on 5th and Main?" "That's the one," Kevin said, smugly. "Come by tomorrow at 9 a.m. Don't be late. I don't tolerate lateness." "I'll be there," Adam said, a small, unreadable smile playing on his lips. "I actually need to stop by that branch anyway. I have some, let's call it asset restructuring to attend to." "Great." Kevin slapped the table. "See? I'm turning his life around already. You're welcome, Hannah." The rest of the dinner blurred. Adam didn't speak another word. He just observed them. He watched Kevin brag about a system he didn't understand. He watched Linda fawn over a man with a fraction of Adam's net worth. He watched Hannah shrink into herself, blinded by the illusion of gold plating, unable to see the solid diamond sitting next to her. As they left, Kevin clapped Adam on the shoulder. "Don't wear that suit tomorrow, buddy. You'll scare the customers. Wear something cheaper." "I'll keep that in mind," Adam said. They got into the Honda. Hannah was silent, but the tension was gone, replaced by a cold resolve. "I'm glad you agreed," she said as they pulled onto the highway. "But don't think this fixes everything. It's too little, too late." "I agree," Adam said, staring out the window at the passing city lights. "It is definitely too late." He touched the phone in his pocket. The message from Marcus had arrived 10 minutes ago. "Audit complete. Liquidity verified. The transfer is ready on your command, sir." Tomorrow, Adam wouldn't just be visiting the bank. He would be buying the ground from under their feet. The date on the calendar on the kitchen wall seemed to mock Adam. September 14th. 5 years. Adam sat at the small, chipped kitchen table. In front of him sat a small, rectangular box wrapped in navy blue velvet. It wasn't a ring, she already had one of those, though she rarely wore it. Inside was a key card. It was a master key to a penthouse in the Skyline Tower, the most exclusive residential building in the city. He had bought the penthouse 3 months ago under a shell company. He had spent weeks customizing it, a walk-in closet for her, a studio for her painting hobby she had given up years ago, and a view that overlooked the entire bay. He had planned to drive her there tonight. He had planned to say, "The game is over, Hannah. We won." The sound of the front door unlocking cut through his reverie. Hannah walked in. She wasn't wearing her work clothes. She was dressed in a sharp, confident blazer and jeans, carrying a large leather tote bag. She didn't look at him. She didn't say hello. She walked straight to the counter, poured herself a glass of water, and drank it with her back turned to him. "Happy anniversary," Adam said softly. Hannah froze. She lowered the glass slowly, placing it on the counter with a heavy thud. She turned around. Her face was devoid of the anger from the previous night. Instead, there was something colder, pity. "I didn't think you'd remember," she said. "I remember everything," Adam replied. He reached for the velvet box. "Hannah, before we start. I know things have been hard. I know I haven't been the husband you think you wanted. But I need you to listen to me for 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes." Hannah held up a hand, stopping him. "No, Adam. No more speeches. No more promises about how your project is going to pay off next month. I'm tired of the potential. I want reality." She reached into her tote bag and pulled out a thick manila envelope. She tossed it onto the table. It slid across the wood and stopped right next to the velvet box. "I spoke to a lawyer this morning," she said. Adam looked at the envelope. He didn't need to open it to know what it was. The bold, black letters at the top of the visible document read, "Petition for dissolution of marriage." "Divorce," Adam stated, his voice flat. "It's for the best," Hannah said, crossing her arms. "I'm 28, Adam. I have a career. I have a future. And you're stuck. You're an anchor, and I'm trying to sail. If I stay with you, I'll drown in debt and mediocrity." Adam picked up the envelope. It felt heavy. "You're doing this today? On our anniversary?" It seemed appropriate, she said coldly. "Ended on the day it started. A clean break." Adam looked up at her. "And the assets? What do you want?" Hannah let out a short, scoffing laugh. "Assets? Adam, we don't have assets. We have a leased Honda and a rented house filled with your computer junk. I don't want anything from you. I just want out. I'm not asking for alimony because I know you can't pay it. I just want my freedom." "You think I have nothing," Adam murmured. He tapped the velvet box with his index finger. "Hannah, what if I told you that inside this box is the answer to every complaint you've ever had? What if I told you that Codex isn't just a game? What if I told you I could buy Kevin's bank 3 times over?" Hannah stared at him for a second, then shook her head, her expression shifting to disgust. "Stop it. Just stop. This is exactly why I'm leaving. The delusions. You're lying to yourself to cope with your failure, and it's pathetic. Kevin has a real job. You have fantasies." "I can prove it," Adam said, reaching to open the box. "I don't care." Hannah screamed, startling him. "I don't care about your fake gift. Probably some cheap necklace you bought with money you borrowed from your mother. I don't want it. I'm moving in with Jessica and Kevin tonight. Sign the papers, Adam. Be a man for once in your life and let me go." Adam's hand froze on the lid of the box. He looked at her. Really looked at her. He saw the contempt in her eyes. He realized then that it wasn't just about the money. Even if he showed her the millions now, she would only love the lifestyle, not him. She had already checked out. She had judged him based on a surface-level perception and found him wanting. He slowly pulled his hand back from the box. He pushed it into his pocket. "Okay," Adam said. The sudden compliance threw her off. "Okay? You want a clean break," Adam said, pulling a pen from his pocket, a Mont Blanc fountain pen, another subtle sign of wealth she had never noticed. "You don't want my debt. You don't want my computer junk. You just want out." "Yes," she breathed, looking relieved. Adam flipped to the signature page. He didn't hesitate. The nib of the pen scratched loudly against the paper in the silent kitchen. Adam Sterling. He closed the envelope and slid it back to her. "Done," he said. "You're free." Hannah grabbed the envelope as if it were a winning lottery ticket. "Thank you. You can stay here until the lease is up next month. After that, well, good luck, Adam. I hope you find a gamer girl who likes living in a basement." She turned on her heel and walked to the door. She didn't look back. She walked out of the house, out of his life, and into the waiting passenger seat of her sister's car, which had just pulled up to the curb. Adam stood by the window and watched them drive away. He watched his wife, his ex-wife, laughing as she got into the car, likely telling Jessica how she finally dropped the dead weight. The house was quiet. Adam sat back down. He pulled the velvet box out of his pocket. He opened it. The key card to the Skyline Tower glinted in the kitchen light. Next to it, tucked into the lining, was a platinum credit card with a limitless cap, issued to Hannah Sterling. He took the credit card out. He walked over to the kitchen sink, turned on the garbage disposal, and dropped the card in. The metal crunched and shrieked as the blades destroyed it. He put the key card back in his pocket. He picked up his phone and dialed Marcus. "It's done," Adam said. His voice was no longer the voice of a husband trying to save a marriage. It was the voice of a CEO executing a hostile takeover. "I'm sorry, sir," Marcus said gently. "Don't be," Adam replied. "I'm not. Is the meeting with the bank set?" "Yes, sir. 10 a.m. tomorrow. They are expecting the client. They have no idea it's you. Kevin Miller will be handling the intake personally." "Good," Adam said. "Make sure the legal team is on standby. I want the acquisition papers ready to be served the moment I walk out of there." "And sir? What about the house?" Adam looked around the small, rented living room where he had spent 5 years hiding his success, trying to be humble, trying to build a foundation of trust that had turned out to be made of sand. "Buy the rental company," Adam said coldly. "Evict everyone. Turn this place into a parking lot. I never want to see it again." He grabbed his laptop bag. He didn't pack clothes. He didn't pack toiletries. He didn't need them. He had a penthouse waiting for him. He walked out of the front door, leaving the lights on. He left the door unlocked. There was nothing in there of value anymore. The only thing of value had just walked out with him. The front door of the rental house clicked shut behind Adam. The sound was final, like a gavel striking a sounding block. He stood on the porch for a moment, breathing in the cool night air. It smelled of wet asphalt and cut grass, the scent of suburbia, the scent of the life he had tried so hard to fit into. He walked down the cracked driveway, carrying nothing but a slim laptop bag. Mrs. Higgins, the elderly neighbor who spent her evening spying through her blinds, was watching. Adam could see the curtains twitch. To her, and to anyone else watching, he was a tragic figure, the unemployed husband finally kicked out by his hard-working wife. He was a cliché. A failure walking into the dark. Adam didn't look back. He turned left at the sidewalk, walking past the rows of identical houses with their flickering blue television screens. He walked for 3 blocks until he reached the corner of Oak and 4th, a quiet intersection shielded by a row of large maple trees. He checked his watch. It was a Patek Philippe Nautilus, a piece he had kept hidden in a safety deposit box for years, only retrieving it an hour ago from the bottom of his bag. It was worth more than every house on this block combined. 9:05 p.m. Right on time. Twin beams of LED light cut through the darkness. A vehicle turned the corner, its engine a low, purring growl that vibrated in Adam's chest. It wasn't a taxi. It was a Bentley Flying Spur, painted a deep, midnight black. The car glided to a stop next to him. The rear driver's side door opened, and a man in a sharp black suit stepped out. This was Thomas, his head of security and personal driver for the past 7 years, a man who had been paid a full salary just to wait for the day Adam decided to return. "Good evening, Mr. Sterling," Thomas said, holding the door open. His face was impassive, but there was a glint of relief in his eyes. "It is good to see you out of that environment." "Good evening, Thomas," Adam replied, his voice shifting. The hesitation was gone. The soft-spoken tone he used with Hannah evaporated, replaced by the baritone authority of a man who commanded thousands of employees. "Take us to the tower." Adam slid into the back seat. The door closed with a solid, reassuring thud, sealing him inside a cocoon of hand-stitched leather and walnut wood. The silence was absolute. The noise of the suburbs, the barking dogs, the distant sirens, vanished. Thomas slid into the driver's seat and the car pulled away, effortless and smooth. Adam pulled out his phone. He had one more call to make before the morning. "Marcus," Adam said as the call connected. "Sir, the acquisition team is prepping the documents for the bank. We've also flagged the real estate portfolio of the Miller family as you requested," Marcus reported instantly. "Good. But I need to discuss the glitch," Adam said, staring out the tinted window as the Bentley merged onto the highway, speeding toward the glittering city skyline. "What is the status of Kevin Miller's terminal access?" "We have backdoor access to the bank's central server through the Codex security patch we installed last month," Marcus explained. "We can simulate a level 5 freezing of assets. To him, it will look like a federal hold. He won't be able to move a penny." "Make it specific," Adam instructed, his eyes cold. "When I walk into that bank tomorrow, I want the system to flag my account as a VIP conflict. I want red screens. I want sirens if possible. I want him to panic. He prides himself on being a shark? Let's see how he swims when the tank drains." "Understood, sir. A VIP conflict error code. It will require a regional override to clear. He'll have to call his superiors while you are sitting there." "Perfect. And Marcus?" "Yes, Mr. Sterling, have a new wardrobe sent to the penthouse. The suit I'm wearing is fine, but I want options. If I'm going to destroy a man's career, I want to look impeccable doing it." "Already done, sir. The tailor was there an hour ago." Adam hung up. The car was now crossing the bridge into the city. The lights of the skyscrapers reflected off the dark water below. In the center of it all stood the Skyline Tower, a glass needle piercing the clouds. The top 3 floors belonged to him. For 5 years, he had lived in a cramped duplex, eating frozen dinners and listening to Hannah complain about the electric bill, all while owning the most expensive real estate in the city. He had done it to prove a point to his late father, that he could be loved for who he was, not what he had. The experiment had failed. The Bentley pulled into the private underground entrance of the tower. The concierge was waiting by the elevator. "Welcome home, Mr. Sterling," the concierge said, bowing slightly. "We have missed you." "It's been a long sabbatical, Henry," Adam said, stepping into the private elevator. He pressed the button for the 90th floor. As the elevator rocketed upward, Adam felt the last vestiges of his old life shedding away. The gamer hoodie was gone. The apologetic husband was gone. The doors opened into the penthouse. The view was breathtaking, a 360-degree panorama of the city. But Adam didn't look at the view. He walked straight to the wet bar and poured himself a glass of whiskey. Vintage Macallan, aged 25 years. He walked to the floor-to-ceiling window and looked down. Far below, amidst the grid of yellow streetlights, was the bank. It was just a tiny gray block from up here. Kevin Miller was probably sleeping soundly right now, dreaming of his promotion, dreaming of the bonus he would get for bringing in new accounts. Hannah was probably at Jessica's house, drinking wine and toasting to her freedom. Adam took a sip of the whiskey. It burned, a pleasant, grounding heat. "Enjoy your sleep," Adam whispered to the city below. "Because tomorrow, I'm waking everybody up." He turned away from the window and walked toward the master bedroom. On the bed, laid out by his staff, was a fresh suit, midnight blue. Sharp. Aggressive. Beside it, a pair of cufflinks engraved with the Codex logo. He wasn't just going to a meeting. He was going to war. While Adam was sipping 25-year-old scotch overlooking the city, Hannah was sitting on the patio of Kevin's suburban home, holding a glass of supermarket Chardonnay. The mood was electric, bordering on hysterical. It was a celebration. To freedom. Jessica cheered, clinking her glass against Hannah's. "I told you, Han. I told you 5 years ago that he was dead weight. I'm so proud of you for finally cutting the cord." Hannah took a long sip of the wine. It tasted sour compared to the bottles Adam used to buy. He always claimed they were gifts from clients, but to Hannah, it tasted like victory. "I feel light," Hannah said, leaning back in the wicker chair. "I didn't realize how heavy he was until he was gone. It's like I can finally breathe. No more clicking keyboards. No more hoodies on the couch. No more embarrassing questions from friends about what my husband does for a living. He was a parasite. Linda, her mother, chimed in from the doorway, holding a tray of cheese. A leech. You're a beautiful, successful young woman. You deserve a man who stands tall. Like Kevin. Kevin was manning the expensive gas grill nearby, flipping steaks with a pair of oversized tongs. He was wearing an apron that said the boss, which he found hilarious and everyone else found mandatory to laugh at. Don't worry about a thing, Hannah, Kevin called out over the sizzle of the meat. You're staying here as long as you need. And tomorrow? Tomorrow is going to be the start of your new life. Once Adam signs that employment contract, you won't have to feel guilty. He'll be employed, earning minimum wage, and you can finalize the divorce without a judge thinking you abandoned a helpless dependent. Hannah frowned slightly. Do you think he'll actually show up? He has a lot of pride. Misplaced pride, but still. Kevin laughed, a harsh, barking sound. He has too. He has nowhere else to go. I saw his eyes at dinner. He's broken. He knows I'm the alpha in this situation. He'll come crawling in at 9 a.m. sharp, begging for that teller job. And honestly, I might not even give him the teller spot. I might put him in the back office doing data entry. Or janitorial. Let him sweat a little. You're terrible, Jessica giggled. I'm a businessman, Kevin corrected, plating a steak. Business is about leverage. And I have all of it. Hannah pulled out her phone. She opened her banking app. The balance was low, dangerously low. She had always assumed they were broke because of Adam, but looking at the transaction history, she saw her own spending, Starbucks, clothes, dinners. She frowned. I need to figure out the finances, she muttered. The rent on the house is due next week. Forget the rent, Kevin waved a steak knife dismissively. Adam is on the lease, right? Let the landlord chase him. It'll ruin his credit score, not yours. You're living here now. Save your money. Buy yourself something nice. In fact, treat yourself tonight. The suggestion took root instantly. Hannah smiled. She opened a shopping app. She had been eyeing a designer handbag for months, a knockoff of the one her boss carried. You know what? You're right, she said, tapping purchase. I deserve this. She didn't know that the credit card she just used was linked to a joint account that Adam had quietly emptied and closed an hour ago. The transaction didn't go through immediately, it sat in pending, a ticking time bomb of rejection. By the way, Kevin said, sitting down and cutting into his steak. Tomorrow is a big day for me too. Not just because I'm hiring your charity case X. Oh? Linda asked. What's happening? Kevin puffed out his chest. Headquarters called. Apparently, a VIP client is coming to my branch specifically to see me. They wouldn't say who it is, but the regional director was freaking out. Said the guy has a liquidity portfolio that could buy this whole neighborhood. Wow. Jessica gasped. A celebrity? Maybe. Or a tech mogul. Or some oil tycoon, Kevin speculated, chewing loudly. Whoever it is, they specifically requested the branch manager. That's me. If I land this account, Jessica, you can say goodbye to the E-Class. We're getting a Porsche. See? Linda pointed a fork at Hannah. That is ambition. That is what a man looks like. Hannah nodded, feeling a pang of jealousy towards her sister, but quickly suppressing it. I'm happy for you guys. Really, maybe this VIP has a single son, Jessica teased. We could set Hannah up. They all laughed. The wine flowed. The night air was filled with their self-congratulatory chatter. They talked about Adam like he was a ghost, a bad memory that had already faded. They dissected his flaws, mocked his quiet nature, and ridiculed his computer games. They had no idea that the computer games were the reason the GPS in Kevin's Mercedes worked. They had no idea that the VIP client Kevin was dreaming about was the same man they were trashing. As the night wound down, Hannah went to the guest room. She lay on the unfamiliar bed, staring at the ceiling. She reached for her phone to check her messages, half expecting a text from Adam. A plea to come back. A desperate apology. There was nothing. Good, she whispered to herself, though a tiny knot of anxiety tightened in her stomach. He's finally gone. She fell asleep dreaming of her new life, oblivious to the fact that she was currently sleeping in the eye of a hurricane. The next morning, the sun rose bright and unforgiving. Kevin stood in front of the hallway mirror, adjusting his tie. It was a bright red power tie. He winked at himself. Showtime, he muttered. Big client. Little Adam. Today is going to be legendary. Good luck, baby. Jessica called from the bed. Hannah walked out of the guest room, dressed in her best business attire. She wanted to be there. She told herself it was to support Adam during the interview, to make sure he took the job. But deep down, she wanted to see it. She wanted to see him submit. She wanted to see him underneath Kevin, proving once and for all that she had made the right choice. Ready? Kevin asked, twirling his car keys. Ready, Hannah said. They walked out to the silver Mercedes. I bet he takes the bus, Kevin laughed as they backed out of the driveway. Or walks. Does he even have money for gas? I don't think so, Hannah said. I took the cash from the emergency jar before I left. Brutal, Kevin grinned. I love it. They drove toward the bank, listening to upbeat pop music, tapping their fingers on the dashboard. They were sharks, swimming in shallow water, completely unaware that the Kraken had just awoken in the deep. The automatic doors of the First National Bank branch slid open with a soft whoosh, admitting Kevin Miller into his kingdom. He walked with a strut that bordered on comical, his red tie swinging as he nodded to the security guard. Morning, Frank. Keep an eye out. Big day today, Kevin said, not waiting for a response. Hannah walked a step behind him, clutching her purse. She felt a strange mixture of pride and anxiety. The bank was impressive, marble floors, high ceilings, the quiet hum of commerce. This was where money lived. This was where she belonged. You can sit in my office, Kevin said, gesturing to the glass-walled room at the back of the floor. Adam isn't due until 9:30. I want you to have a front row seat when he begs for the mop. Hannah sat in one of the leather guest chairs, crossing her legs. She watched Kevin settle behind his large mahogany desk. He opened his laptop, cracked his knuckles, and logged into the banking mainframe. Just doing a quick liquidity check before the VIP arrives, Kevin muttered, mostly to impress her. Gotta make sure we have enough cash on hand if he wants a withdrawal. These billionaires can be eccentric. He hit enter. Instead of the usual green dashboard showing the branch's daily assets, the screen blinked once. Then twice. Then, it turned a violent, solid red. A loud, discordant buzzer sounded from the computer speakers, causing Hannah to jump in her seat. System lockdown, level 5 security alert, unauthorized liquidity event detected, asset freeze initiated. What the? Kevin frowned, tapping the escape key furiously. Stupid system. It freezes up sometimes. He tried to reboot. The screen didn't change. Suddenly, the noise in the main lobby escalated. Hannah looked through the glass wall. One of the tellers, a young woman named Sarah, was standing up, waving frantically at Kevin. Mr. Miller. She shouted, her voice pitching up in panic. My screen is red. I can't process Mrs. Gable's deposit. Mine too. Another teller yelled. The ATM just shut down outside. Kevin stood up, his face flushing. It's just a glitch. Reboot your terminals. We did. Sarah cried. It says Codex override. What does that mean? Kevin froze. Codex. He knew that name. It was the vendor that supplied the bank's cybersecurity software. It was the industry standard. Before he could respond, the phone on his desk rang. It wasn't the normal ringtone, it was the shrill, continuous trill of the emergency line. The caller ID read, Regional Director Henderson. Kevin swallowed hard. He looked at Hannah, his confidence cracking slightly. I have to take this. He picked up the receiver. Mr. Henderson. I was just about to call IT, we seem to be having a minor. Minor? Henderson's voice was so loud Hannah could hear it from her chair. Kevin, do you have any idea what's happening? The entire regional grid for the tri-state area just went dark. Every transaction routed through your branch has been flagged as high-risk conflict. My branch? Kevin squeaked. But I didn't touch anything. The system is flagging a massive pending transfer, Henderson shouted. $50 million moving from the holding accounts to an external trust. The security AI thinks we're being robbed. It locked the vault. Kevin's knees went weak. He slumped into his chair. 50 million? We don't have that kind of liquidity on site. I know that, you idiot. That's why the system crashed. Who authorized a transaction that size? Nobody. Kevin yelled back, sweat beading on his forehead. I'm looking at the logs. It says the request came from the root admin. Well, fix it. Henderson roared. The VIP client, Mr. Sterling, is en route to your location right now. If he walks into a bank that can't even cash a check, we lose the account. And if we lose this account, Kevin, I will personally see to it that you never work in finance again. I'll blacklist you from working at a lemonade stand. The line went dead. Kevin sat there, holding the receiver, his mouth agape. Kevin? Hannah asked, her voice trembling. What's wrong? Who is Mr. Sterling? Kevin looked at her, his eyes wild. The VIP. The billionaire. His name is Sterling. Henderson said he's coming here to authorize the transfer. If I don't get these screens green in 5 minutes, I'm dead. He started typing frantically, sweat dripping onto his expensive red tie. Come on. Override. Password. Access denied, user privileges revoked. It locked me out. Kevin screamed, slamming his fist onto the desk. It locked me out of my own branch. Out in the lobby, the situation was deteriorating. Customers were getting angry. An elderly man was banging his cane on the counter. I need my pension check. Why are the computers down? Hannah stood up. Kevin, do something. Go talk to them. I can't talk to them. Kevin snapped at her. I'm the manager. I'm supposed to be in control. If I go out there and tell them I don't know what's happening, there will be a riot. He ran a hand through his gelled hair, ruining the perfect style. It's this damn Codex software. It's supposed to be unhackable. Why is it targeting me? Hannah looked at the red screen. The word Codex pulsed in the center. A memory tickled the back of her mind. A memory of Adam, sitting in the dark, mumbling about architecture and patches. A memory of a logo on one of his hoodies. A stylized X. No, she thought, shaking her head. Impossible. Adam fixes printers. He plays games. He doesn't build banking infrastructures. Maybe we should call the police? Hannah suggested. No police. Kevin hissed. If the press finds out we were hacked, the stock plummets. We have to wait for the client. Henderson said Mr. Sterling is the only one who can authorize the release. He has the physical key. Kevin stood up and adjusted his jacket, though he looked like a wreck. Okay. I can handle this. I just need to charm this Mr. Sterling. I'll explain that our security is so good, it locked us out to protect his money. Yeah. That sounds good. That sounds professional. He looked at the clock on the wall. 9:28 a.m. Adam will be here any minute, Hannah whispered. What do we do about him? Screw Adam. Kevin shouted. Send him away. Tell the guard to block him. I can't deal with a charity case while I'm trying to save my career. Just then, the security guard, Frank, knocked on the glass door of the office. He looked pale. Kevin opened the door. What? Is the system back up? No, sir, Frank said, swallowing hard. But there's a car outside. A Bentley. It's blocking the fire lane. Kevin's eyes lit up. That's him. That's the VIP. Mr. Sterling. Kevin pushed past Frank, rushing into the lobby. Everyone, clear the way. Clear the way. An important client is entering. Hannah followed him, her heart pounding. She wanted to see this billionaire. Maybe he could save the day. Kevin stood by the automatic doors, fixing his tie, wiping the sweat from his upper lip. He put on his best, most obsequious smile. The Bentley's door opened. First, a polished black shoe stepped onto the pavement. Then, a sharp, midnight blue trouser leg. Kevin held his breath. A man stepped out. He was tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a suit that made Kevin's look like a Halloween costume. He wore dark sunglasses. He radiated power. He radiated absolute control. Kevin stepped forward, extending his hand. Mr. Sterling. Welcome to First National. I am Kevin Miller, the branch manager. I am so sorry about the technical difficulties. We are. The man ignored Kevin's hand. He reached up and slowly removed his sunglasses. Kevin's smile froze. Hannah, standing behind the glass wall of the office, gasped so loud it hurt her chest. She grabbed the doorframe to stop herself from falling. The eyes staring back at Kevin weren't the eyes of a stranger. They were cold, gray, and terrifyingly familiar. "Hello, Kevin," Adam said. "I believe I have a 9:30 appointment. Although, I'm not here for the janitor job." For 10 agonizing seconds, the only sound in the parking lot was the idling engine of the Bentley. Kevin stood frozen, his hand still extended in a greeting that would never be reciprocated. His brain was misfiring, trying to jam two contradictory images together: the loser gamer he had ridiculed over roast beef last night, and the titan of industry standing before him now. "Adam?" Kevin finally choked out, his voice cracking. What are you doing? Is this a joke?" Adam adjusted his cufflinks, the sunlight glinting off the Platinum Codex logo. "I don't tell jokes, Kevin. You know that. I'm here for my 9:30 appointment." Kevin blinked rapidly, his confusion morphing into anger. His narcissism kicked in, rejecting the reality in front of him. There was no way Adam was successful. Therefore, Adam must be a fraud. "You stole this," Kevin hissed, stepping closer so the customers inside wouldn't hear. He pointed a shaking finger at the Bentley. "You rented this car with a stolen credit card, didn't you? Or maybe you're the chauffeur? That's it. You got a job as a driver and you're joyriding while the boss is at lunch." "Step aside, Kevin," Adam said, his voice low and dangerous. "I have business to attend to." "No," Kevin shouted, blocking the automatic doors. He turned to the security guard inside. "Frank, get out here. This man is trespassing. He is impersonating a VIP." Frank, the burly guard, lumbered out, hand on his belt. He looked from the sweating, frantic Kevin to the calm, impeccably dressed Adam. Frank had been a guard for 20 years, he knew what money looked like. And he knew what guilt looked like. Adam looked like money. Kevin looked like guilt. "Sir?" Frank asked, hesitating. "Arrest him," Kevin screamed, spittle flying. "He's a fraud. He's trying to scam the bank. That suit? Probably a costume. That car? Stolen." Inside the lobby, Hannah pressed her face against the glass. Her heart was hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. She watched Adam. He didn't look like a scammer. He stood tall, his posture perfect, his expression bored. He looked royal. She saw Adam sigh, a sound of profound annoyance. He reached into his jacket pocket. "He's got a gun," Kevin shrieked, diving behind Frank. Adam pulled out a sleek, black metal card. It wasn't a credit card. It was a radio frequency identity key, a master pass. He didn't hand it to Kevin. He didn't hand it to Frank. He simply held it up toward the sensor mounted on the brick wall next to the door. Beep. The red light on the sensor turned a brilliant green. The automatic doors, which had been locked down by the security system, slid open instantly. Inside the bank, the red screens on every teller's computer flickered. The chaotic buzzing stopped. The text changed. "Biometric ID confirmed. Welcome, Mr. Sterling. Access level, root admin." A collective gasp went through the lobby. Adam walked forward. Frank, the guard, instinctively stepped aside, holding the door open. "After you, sir." "Frank, you're fired," Kevin yelled, scrambling to follow Adam inside. "Stop him." Adam walked into the lobby. The air conditioning hit him, carrying the familiar scent of old money and floor wax. He stopped in the center of the room. Every eye was on him. The tellers, the angry customers, the old man with the cane, they all fell silent. Hannah slowly walked out of Kevin's office. She stood 10 feet away from Adam. She looked at his shoes, Italian leather. She looked at his watch, Patek Philippe. She looked at his face. It was the same face she had woken up next to for 5 years, but the man behind the eyes was a stranger. "Adam?" she whispered. Adam turned his head slightly. He looked at her not with love, not with hate, but with the indifference one might show a piece of furniture. "Hello, Hannah," he said. "I see you made it to the show. What is going on?" she pleaded, tears forming in her eyes. "Kevin says you stole the car. Tell me it's not true. Tell me you didn't do something stupid." "He did." Kevin rushed in, panting. He grabbed Adam's arm. "You are going to jail, you hear me? Impersonating Mr. Sterling. That is identity theft. Where is the real client? What did you do to him?" Adam looked down at Kevin's hand on his sleeve. He looked at it as if a cockroach had landed on him. "Let go," Adam said softly. "I won't let go until the police." "I said, let go." Adam didn't raise his voice, but the command echoed off the marble walls. Kevin flinched and released his grip. "I am Mr. Sterling," Adam announced, his voice carrying to the back of the room. "Adam Sterling. Founder and CEO of Codex International. The software that runs this bank. And the money that keeps it afloat." "Liar," Kevin shouted, though his voice was trembling now. "Your last name is Fisherman. Adam Fisherman." "Fisherman was my stepfather's name," Adam corrected calmly. "I took it to live a normal life. To see who would stand by me when I had nothing. I legally reverted to my birth name, Sterling, yesterday morning." He took a step toward Kevin. Kevin took a step back. "And as for the VIP client you were so desperate to impress?" Adam gestured to the main screen behind the teller counter. The screen displayed a massive digital portfolio. Account holder, Adam Sterling. Balance, $50 million, pending transfer status, blocked by branch manager Kevin Miller. The lobby erupted in whispers. "50 million? Someone gasped. "That's the gamer guy?" Kevin stared at the screen. His face drained of color, turning a sickly shade of gray. The numbers burned into his retinas. 50 million. Liquid. That didn't even count the assets, the stocks, the property. "No," Kevin whimpered. No. You fix printers. You play World of Warcraft. You drove a Honda." "I drove a Honda because I didn't want my wife to feel inferior," Adam said, glancing at Hannah. She covered her mouth with her hand, a sob escaping her throat. "I played games because I was testing server latency for my global network. And I fixed printers." "Well, actually, I never fixed printers. You just assume that because you think anyone who works with computers is a mechanic." Adam brushed past Kevin, heading straight for the glass-walled office at the back. "Kevin's office." "Where are you going?" Kevin cried weakly. Adam opened the door to the manager's office. He walked around the mahogany desk, the desk Kevin was so proud of. He sat down in the high-backed leather chair. He spun it around to face the lobby. He picked up the phone on the desk. He pressed the button for the intercom. Attention, Adam's voice boomed through the bank speakers. This is Adam Sterling. Due to gross incompetence and hostile management, I am exercising my right as the majority liquidity holder. He looked straight at Kevin through the glass. I am initiating a full audit of this branch, effective immediately. No one leaves. Especially not the manager. Kevin collapsed to his knees in the middle of the lobby. Hannah stood frozen, staring at the man she had thrown away less than 24 hours ago, realizing that the dead weight she had cut loose was actually the anchor that had been keeping them from drifting into the storm. And the storm was here. The silence in the bank was heavy, broken only by the hum of the server stack rebooting in the back room, a reboot Adam had authorized with a single keystroke from Kevin's computer. Adam sat in the leather executive chair, spinning it slightly from left to right. He didn't look like a vengeful ex-husband. He looked like a judge. Kevin scrambled to his feet, his face slick with sweat, his expensive red tie now hanging loosely around his neck like a noose. He rushed toward the glass office, but stopped short of the door, afraid to enter his own domain. Adam. Mr. Sterling, Kevin stammered, his voice pitching high. Okay. You made your point. You're successful. Congratulations. Really? But you can't just hijack a bank. This is federal property. You can't sit there. Adam ignored him. He was typing on Kevin's keyboard, his eyes scanning the transaction logs on the monitor. Kevin, Adam said without looking up. Why is there a recurring transfer of $2,000 every month from the petty cash vault to an external account labeled consulting fees? Kevin's face went from pale to ghostly white. That's administrative overhead. Standard procedure. Standard procedure? Adam clicked a key. Strange. Because the account is registered to a K. Miller Holdings LLC. That sounds a lot like embezzlement to me. It's a lie. Kevin shrieked, banging his hand on the glass. That's a glitch. Your software is faulty. My software is never faulty, Adam replied icily. Just then, the automatic doors at the front of the bank slid open again. This time, it wasn't a Bentley. It was a black SUV with government plates, followed by a sleek Mercedes sedan. A short, balding man in an ill-fitting suit stormed in, followed by two men carrying briefcases. It was Regional Director Henderson. Miller. Henderson roared, scanning the lobby. Where is he? Why is the entire district offline? Kevin turned, seeing his boss as a potential savior. Henderson. Thank God. You have to help me. There's a lunatic in my office. He hacked the system. He's trying to frame me. Henderson didn't look at Kevin. His eyes locked onto the man sitting in the glass office. He saw the face. He saw the suit. And most importantly, he recognized the man from the cover of Tech Tycoon Monthly. Henderson pushed Kevin aside so hard that Kevin stumbled into a display of brochures. Henderson straightened his jacket and walked briskly into the office. Mr. Sterling, Henderson said, breathless, extending a hand. I am mortified. Absolutely mortified. I'm Gerald Henderson, Regional Director. I had no idea you were visiting this branch personally. If I had known, I would have rolled out the red carpet. Adam stood up slowly and shook Henderson's hand. Mr. Henderson. We need to talk about your management standards. Agreed, sir. Fully agreed, Henderson nodded furiously, sweat dripping down his nose. Whatever you need to resolve the liquidity freeze, we will do. We value Codex as a partner. The freeze is lifted, Adam said, gesturing to the screen. I've authenticated the transfer. My $50 million is now sitting in your vault. However. Adam paused, letting the word hang in the air. However? Henderson asked nervously. I don't trust the current management with my assets, Adam said, pointing a finger at Kevin, who was watching from the doorway with his mouth open. I've found irregularities in the ledger. Ghost accounts. Skimmed fees. And frankly, a level of unprofessionalism that insults the banking industry. Henderson turned slowly to face Kevin. The look in his eyes was murderous. Irregularities? Henderson whispered. I can explain. Kevin cried, holding up his hands. It's not what it looks like. I needed the money for the car lease. I was going to pay it back next bonus cycle. You embezzled corporate funds for a lease? Henderson screamed, his face turning purple. You idiot. You're not just fired, Miller. I'm calling the feds. You're going to prison. Kevin's legs gave out. He collapsed into a chair in the lobby, burying his face in his hands. Hannah, who had been standing silently near the teller counter, watched her world disintegrate. The successful man she had bet her future on was a criminal. The loser she had discarded was the most powerful man in the room. She took a shaky step toward the office. She had to fix this. She knew Adam. She knew his soft spots. She knew he loved her, or at least, he used to. She walked past Henderson, entering the office. Adam, she said softly. Her voice trembled. Adam stopped talking to Henderson. He turned to look at her. Miss Sterling, Adam said formally. Or is it Ms. Miller now? I haven't kept up with the paperwork. Please, Hannah whispered, tears spilling over. Don't do this. Look at him. You've ruined him. Isn't that enough? Can't you just take your money and leave? For old time's sake? For old time's sake? Adam repeated. He laughed, a dry, humorless sound. You mean the times you called me a parasite? The times you apologized to your friends for my existence? Or last night, when you stole the cash from our emergency jar so you could buy gas to come here and watch me get humiliated? Hannah froze. How did you? I know everything, Hannah. I always have. Adam reached into his briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. Speaking of finances, Adam said, tossing the folder onto the desk. Mr. Henderson, does this bank hold the mortgage for the property at 42 Oak Street? The Miller residence? Henderson scrambled to check a tablet one of his assistants handed him. Yes, sir. That's the parents' home. And we also hold the lease on Mr. Miller's vehicle. Good, Adam said. I'm buying the debt. Excuse me? Hannah gasped. I am purchasing the debt portfolio for the Miller family, Adam stated clearly. The house your parents live in. The car Kevin drives. And the credit card debt you racked up last night on that handbag. You can't do that, Hannah cried. That's cruel. It's business, Adam corrected. I'm cleaning up bad assets. And frankly, your family is a bad asset. He turned back to Henderson. Draw up the papers. I want the foreclosure notices sent out by noon. Foreclosure? Hannah grabbed Adam's arm. Adam, my parents live there. You're going to make them homeless? Because of me? Adam looked at her hand on his arm. He gently, but firmly, removed it. No, Hannah, he said, his eyes devoid of warmth. Not because of you. Because they treated a good man like a dog for 5 years. Because they taught you that money was the only thing that mattered. So, I'm giving them a lesson in economics. When you have nothing but money, you have nothing. He turned his back on her. Mr. Henderson, get security to escort Mr. Miller and this woman off the premises. I have work to do. Adam, please. Hannah screamed as Frank, the guard Kevin had tried to fire, stepped forward. I'm sorry. I love you. I didn't mean any of it. Frank grabbed Hannah's arm gently. Ma'am, you need to leave. I'm his wife. She shrieked, fighting against the grip. Ex-wife, Adam called out without turning around. Frank led a sobbing Hannah and a catatonic Kevin out of the bank. The automatic doors slid shut behind them, cutting off their wails. Inside the office, silence returned. Henderson wiped his brow with a handkerchief. Mr. Sterling. That was efficient. I don't like loose ends, Henderson, Adam said, sitting back down in the leather chair. Now, let's talk about maximizing the yield on my $50 million. I have a feeling I'm going to need a new hobby since I'm not gaming anymore. Outside, on the sidewalk, Kevin sat on the curb, staring at his Mercedes, knowing it would be towed within the hour. Hannah stood next to him, clutching her purse, staring at the closed doors of the bank, realizing that the glass ceiling she had tried to break through had just crashed down on top of her. The ride home from the bank was not in a Mercedes. It was in a taxi that smelled of stale cigarettes. Kevin had no car. His E-Class had been booted in the bank parking lot before they even stepped outside, seized as collateral for the debt Adam had just purchased. They arrived at the Miller family home, the spacious suburban house that had been the pride of Linda and her husband, George. Kevin stumbled out of the taxi, his face pale and clammy. Hannah followed, looking like she was walking through a nightmare. It's a mistake, Kevin kept muttering, shivering despite the afternoon sun. It's a glitch. Adam is hacking us. I just need to call a lawyer. They opened the front door to find chaos. Linda was in the hallway, holding a piece of paper, her face streaked with tears. George, Hannah's father, was sitting on the stairs, head in his hands. Mom? Hannah asked, her voice trembling. What's wrong? Linda looked up, her eyes wide with panic. The sheriff was just here. He posted a notice on the door. He said we have 30 days to vacate. 30 days? Kevin gasped. That's impossible. Foreclosure takes months. Not when the note holder exercises the immediate call clause due to fraudulent activity, George said, his voice hollow. He looked at his son. Kevin. The sheriff said the foreclosure was triggered because of embezzlement. He said the bank froze your assets. Kevin leaned against the wall, sliding down until he hit the floor. He bought it. Adam bought the debt. Adam? Linda shrieked. That loser? How could he buy our house? He's not a loser, Mom. Hannah screamed, the dam finally breaking. He's a billionaire. He owns the bank. He owns the software. He owns everything. The silence that followed was deafening. Hannah paced the hallway, hysterical laughter bubbling up in her throat. We sat there last night eating steak and laughing at him. We called him a parasite. And all along, he was testing us. He was waiting to see if we were worth saving. She looked at her mother. And we failed. We failed so hard. But we can fix this, Linda stammered, clutching her pearls. Hannah, you're his wife. He loves you. Go to him. Apologize. Cry. Do whatever you have to do. I tried. Hannah sobbed. I begged him in the office. He looked at me like I was a stranger. He called me his ex-wife. It's over, Mom. He's gone. Suddenly, Kevin's phone buzzed. It was the only thing they hadn't seized yet. He looked at the screen. It was a notification from a legal courier service. Message, electronic service of process. You are hereby notified of a federal indictment for wire fraud and embezzlement. Please surrender to the nearest precinct by 5:00 p.m. today to avoid a tactical arrest. Kevin dropped the phone. It clattered onto the hardwood floor. I'm going to jail, Kevin whispered. I'm actually going to jail. George stood up slowly. He walked over to his son and looked down at him. For the first time in his life, there was no pride in his eyes. Only disgust. You said you were a shark, Kevin, George said quietly. You said you were the alpha. And now you've lost my house. And my car, Kevin whimpered. Get out, George said. Dad? I said get out. George roared, his face turning red. Go to the police station. Go anywhere. But get out of this house before I throw you out myself. Kevin scrambled up and ran out the door, weeping. Hannah stood alone in the hallway with her parents. The house, usually so warm and inviting, felt cold. She looked around at the expensive furniture, the art on the walls, the vase she had bought with Adam's money years ago. It was all going away. I need to call him, Hannah whispered to herself. She pulled out her phone and dialed Adam's number. Her fingers shook. Ring. Ring. It clicked. Adam? She breathed, hope flaring in her chest. This is an automated message from Codex Security, a robotic voice answered. The number you are trying to reach has permanently blocked this caller ID. If you continue to attempt contact, a harassment suit will be filed automatically. Goodbye. Click. Hannah lowered the phone. She walked into the living room and sat on the couch Adam used to sleep on when she kicked him out of the bedroom for typing too loud. She curled her legs up to her chest. Outside, a tow truck rumbled up the driveway to take the Mercedes. The sound of the hook dragging the car was loud and grinding. Linda was crying in the kitchen. George was yelling on the phone to a bankruptcy lawyer. Hannah closed her eyes. She remembered the velvet box on the kitchen table yesterday. She remembered Adam saying, I can prove it. I should have opened the box, she whispered to the empty room. But boxes, once closed, are very hard to open again. Especially when you've lost the key. 6 months later. The Skyline Tower gleamed against the winter sky, a monolith of glass and steel that dominated the city center. On the top floor, in a penthouse that spanned the entire perimeter of the building, Adam Sterling stood by the window. He was holding a glass of sparkling water. He had stopped drinking whiskey, he needed his mind sharp. Behind him, the room was buzzing with quiet activity. It wasn't a party. It was a strategy meeting. 3 executives from Codex were sitting on the plush white sofas, reviewing the quarterly projections on holographic tablets. Sir, Marcus said, stepping forward. The acquisition of the regional bank chain is finalized. We've rebranded it as Codex Financial. The rebranding campaign launches tomorrow. Excellent, Adam said, turning around. He looked different. The beard he used to neglect was now trimmed to precision. His posture was commanding. The gamer slouch was gone forever. And the staffing restructuring? Completed, Marcus nodded. We removed 15% of the redundant middle management. Efficiency is up 40%. Good. Adam set his glass down. What about the legacy file? Marcus hesitated for a fraction of a second. He knew what legacy file meant. It was the code name for the Miller family. The file is closed, sir, Marcus said softly. But if you want the update. Briefly, Adam said, his face expressionless. Kevin Miller took a plea deal, Marcus recited from memory. 3 years in federal prison for embezzlement and fraud. He's currently serving time at the low-security facility upstate. Adam nodded. Justice served. The parents? Living in a rented 2-bedroom apartment on the east side. It's a significant downgrade. Linda works part-time as a greeter at a supermarket. Adam felt a flicker of pity, but he extinguished it quickly. They had reaped what they sowed. And Hannah? Adam asked. Marcus swiped his tablet. She's working as a receptionist at a dental clinic. She moved into a studio apartment downtown. She's sent 3 letters to your office this month, sir. All returned unopened as per your protocol. Adam looked out the window again. He thought about Hannah. He thought about the woman he had loved, the woman he had tried to protect from the harshness of the world, only to find out she was part of the harshness. Burn them, Adam said. Sir? The letters. Any future correspondence. Burn it. I don't want to see it. Understood. Adam walked over to his desk. On it sat a framed photo. It wasn't of Hannah. It was a photo of him and his original team, the gamers and nerds who had built Codex in a garage 10 years ago. The people who had stayed loyal when there was no money. He realized now that they were his real family. We have the launch event for the new VR interface tonight, one of the executives said, checking her watch. The press is waiting downstairs. They're calling you the Bachelor of the Year. Adam smiled. It was a genuine smile this time. Let them wait a few minutes, Adam said. I have one last thing to do. He sat down at his computer, a custom-built rig with 6 monitors, cooled by liquid nitrogen, glowing with blue LED lights. It was a beast of a machine, far more powerful than the one Hannah had unplugged that night. He logged into Project Ether. The code scrolled down the screen, green and beautiful. He opened a command prompt. He typed in a single line of code. Delete user, Hannah_access_key_01 confirm? Y/N. Adam's finger hovered over the Y. For a moment, he remembered the anniversary dinners. The quiet nights watching movies. The way she used to laugh before the bitterness took over. But then he remembered the look in her eyes at the bank. The shame. The betrayal. He pressed Y. Deletion complete. A weight lifted off his chest that he hadn't realized was there. The last digital tie was cut. He stood up, buttoned his jacket, a new bespoke suit, black as midnight, and walked toward the private elevator. Let's go, Adam said to his team. We have an empire to run, the dental clinic. Miles away, in a small, sterile waiting room that smelled of antiseptic and old magazines, Hannah sat behind a reception desk. Her phone buzzed with a news alert. She glanced down. Breaking news, Tech Tycoon Adam Sterling announces revolutionary financial AI. Stock soars 300%. The thumbnail showed Adam walking out of the Skyline Tower, looking like a king, surrounded by flashing cameras. He looked happy. Hannah stared at the screen. Her thumb hovered over his face. She felt a tear slide down her cheek, hot and stinging. Excuse me? A patient asked, tapping on the glass. I have a 2 p.m. for a root canal. Hannah hastily wiped her cheek and forced a smile. It was a fake smile, a customer service smile, the kind she used to mock Adam for not having. Of course, Hannah said, her voice cracking slightly. Just fill out these forms, please. She handed over the clipboard. As she looked down at her own hand, she saw the pale band of skin on her ring finger where the diamond used to be. The ring she had thrown away. She looked back at the news alert one last time, then locked her phone and put it in the drawer. The screen went black. And this time, there was no one coming to turn the power back on.